Yo, yo, get up, nah I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
Welcome, Bears fans. Welcome to the Chicago Sports Podcast. And we're going to have a tough conversation. I hope you guys are ready. I hope things kind of went you guys' way today. But it's time to ask some tough questions. It's time to ask some tough questions. The first question I'm going to start with on the defensive end. Can the Chicago Bears develop a consistently dominant defensive group, a defensive unit under new defensive coordinator Dennis Allen? That's the first question I have. And that's the question we're going to focus on for tonight. Now, as the honeymoon stage sets on the offseason and free agency and the draft, and we get closer to training camp, now it's time to get some answers to the questions of the guys that we acquired this offseason, players and coaches. But we're going to start defensively. How do you guys feel about the Bears defense? Number one. And number two, I asked, shout out to Ant Mass, I asked, can the Bears develop a consistently dominant unit? Not just for 2025, but for the future as well. I mean, because when we talk about this, we got to look beyond just next year. You know, we brought coaches in that know how to set culture. We brought players in that fits what these coaches like to do. Now it's time to see if we can all mesh it together, and not just mesh it together to be a stable unit, not to just be an okay unit. I'm talking being a dominant unit that could come in, game out, and take over a game. Kind of similar to, if we want to take it back that far, similar to the '85 Bears. For you guys that have a history with the '85 Bears, you know that it did not start off great on the defensive end. Um, they had a slow start, but as the year went on, that team matured and got better and better each week. And that's what we want to see. But we want to see it turn into dominance. We've had plenty of good units. I think last year's unit was a good unit, but we want a dominant unit. And the question remains is if under Dennis Allen, our new defensive coordinator, can he bring a dominant unit to the city of Chicago? Right now, I bring my guy in, Eric. What's up, E? What's going on?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going, man?
All good, brother. How are you?
Uh, I guess a few minutes late, man. Sorry about
Hey, listen,
that.
man. Hey, it's all good, man. We here. We all here together. Um, what I was
I
talking
feel like
about before.
tonight's show, it's gonna be like almost a recap. Like we like got into this last week, no, a little bit.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit, but we're going to make our supreme focus tonight strictly defense. We ain't talking wide receivers. We ain't talking quarterbacks. We ain't even talking O-line. We're talking strictly defense and the guy that's responsible for taking this unit to the next level. We talking about Dennis Allen. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys listening, save your offensive questions for next week or maybe even tomorrow. Everything tonight is all about defense. The city of Chicago prides itself on defense, and some would like to change that culture. Me, for one, I would like a great mix of both, but we can't have it all. But tonight is all about the defense. So, Eric, knowing football like you do, and knowing what you've seen from the Bears last year, and knowing who the Bears brought in to be a defensive coordinator this season and the pieces that we acquired, how do you truly feel about the future of this unit?
Be my honest opinion, it's probably going to be
Yes, yes.
it's probably going to be pretty mediocre. I
Okay.
mean, I really don't think that we're going to have an outstanding defense. I just can't honestly
Hmm.
say that it's going to be, a shutdown defense. I mean, we really haven't made any adjustments, and the people that we're paying to play at a high level aren't playing at a high level. So, I mean, I can't honestly sit here and say that it's going to be a standout unit. I mean, the best we could hope for in this situation is that guys step up, which we've been talking about, and is seeing guys take that next step, and hopefully guys that we've already paid to be certain people
Yeah,
perform to their payroll, right?
yeah.
To earn that check that we already wrote. So, like I said, honestly, mediocre at best. And we ain't supposed to talk about offense, but I feel like we're gonna have to count on the offense to help the defense in this situation. Because where's the pass rush? Where's the? I mean, even in games where we're, let's say, supposed to be an advantage. Let's take the Patriots game for example last year.
Good one.
Oh, there goes a rookie quarterback, a game that was supposed to be easy win, and our defense lets them walk all over us. So, I mean, without having made any adjustments, how do you sit there and say this unit that we have on the field is going to be top tier or competitive or even able to shut down some of these really explosive teams that we have to face this year? Because we have a tough
Mm.
schedule. We face a lot of top tier teams and a lot of teams with really good offenses. And to be honest, unless we're going blow for blow, I don't see our defense stopping some of these teams, stopping a Cincinnati, stopping a Baltimore. Like, I really wish we had done something about making some adjustments. You know, there is no like standout on the defensive line at all. There's no standout play, not even from Sweat. Like, to be honest, there's not. We don't have a standout guy yet. And like you said, Bears football is about defense, but we don't have that defense this year. At least not in my mind. I'm not seeing it.
Hey, you know what? I can't say I disagree with you. You know what, E? You're my type of Bears fan, man. You're my type of Bears fan, speaking honest and real, and not just from your fandom. And we need more like you, brother. We need more like you. But and I have my reasons for agreeing with you, but I have another question. Who do you consider our best defensive player?
It's Jaylon. It's easy. That's easy. I mean, I've been preaching that, many times on the show.
Mhm.
It's for me, he's definitely the number one. Like he's been the most consistent, since he showed up. Like, I mean, maybe he's not like the interception guy that we want him to be, but again, like we talked about before, man, I feel like the quarterbacks don't want to go his way. I mean, he's held some pretty premier receivers to some poor numbers, and he's kept some explosive guys in check. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what you want to see, that
Yeah.
consistency year after year against, elite, what you would consider elite wide receivers. So, I mean, I can't say it's anybody other than Jaylon. I
Right.
mean,
And being
I'm at,
that, Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My fandom this will probably take over because I'm biased. I'm a huge Jalen fan. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, listen, man. As long as it comes from the heart, it's all good, man. We all fans here, so eventually we all, fall victim to that. So don't even trip. But you know, the question is, can the Bears be dominant? Now, from where I stand and what I've seen in my time watching football, dominant defenses have a guy like you described on every level of the defense. If
Yeah,
not
at least
only
one.
one, at least one on every level, from D line, linebackers to secondary. They have one of the guys just like you described on each level. I don't think we have that. You know.
No,
Now,
I'm gonna agree. I don't
now,
see it.
and listen, it could be because guys are young, guys are not consistently in the lineup for whatever reason. They're not there. Okay. But my reasoning for saying, I'm not gonna shoot them and say mediocre. I'm just gonna say I don't know if they can be dominant, but can they have moments of dominance? I think so. I say that because we saw moments last year when things were in disarray. We saw moments, but it was nothing consistent. You know, I want to bring consistency to the entire football team, but since we're specifically talking defense tonight, I want to see the defense consistently go out there every possession to do something to raise, what I'm saying, raise the hairs of the opposite team. But with this unit, it's just so many unknowns, and with so many unknowns, we cannot lay it all on the line and say the Bears are going to be a top 10, top 5 unit defensively.
I don't think so. I mean, realistically, you're correct. Like we did show up in games where I mean, because if you look back at last year, we had quite a few one-score games where the defense showed up at crunch time to put us in the position to win, where we just had things go, miss field goals, whatnot.
Yeah.
Things go just a little bit south, right? But I
Mhm.
mean, they did show up at times, which, like you said, if consistency was there and they kept on showing up, a lot of those games would have went the other way, right?
Yeah. And like I mentioned, these guys on each level of the defense, having our cornerback be our best defensive player is something that I'm not really proud of. I think it's great that we have one of these guys, that's garnered respect by his peers in the league as being one of the top corners, top guys at his position. But him being our best player, it just doesn't sit well with me. And I know people gonna say, well, hey, what about Deion Sanders? What about the Rod Woodsons? What about the Sauce Gardners? But I can't even say Sauce is the best defensive player on the Jets, but this is just, Darrell Reeves, all the shutdown corners we can name. But each of these teams that had the quote unquote shutdown corner, they've had guys up front that you can speak in the same vein that you speak about the cornerback. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
like we touched on this, right? Like
hmm
without that upfront disruption, you don't get that elevated play from the secondary. Like without that pass rush, without that guy getting to the quarterback, making mistakes happen. How can you see this group take that next step, or elevate to
yeah,
that next level where we consider them a top a top defense in the NFL?
yeah,
It's really hard to call.
yeah. See, the guys up front create opportunities for the guys on the back end. Yeah, you got a guy that can cover, but he can only cover that guy for so long. Because you notice a lot of big plays are made when the quarterback is able to elude the rush, get out of there, and make a deep throw down the field. You know what I mean? Without guys consistently being able to apply pressure to the quarterback from any angle, right up the middle or on the ends, it's going to be difficult for your cornerback to maintain coverage for a certain amount of time. So we need guys that's going to create havoc to get the ball out, to create these opportunities. If it's nothing but a tip ball that goes up in the air and the corner is able to catch it, or a tip ball on third down where they're forced to punt or whatever. But we need guys that can, embrace chaos and bring it to the opposite team. Now, do we potentially have some guys? Like I said, it's some unknowns there. So many unknowns there, and it's so many guys that we hope that can be what we're asking for. But
Yeah.
where,
No, yeah, definitely. We're hoping, right? We got a bag full of hopes and dreams. That's kind of where we're at, right?
yeah,
Those guys that we're hoping and that take the next step, that become that elite player. I mean, I hope that's not what our front office is banking on, because I would
yeah,
definitely like to have at least a 10 sack guy up front, and we
yeah,
don't really have that right now. We don't have a 10 sack guy that's constantly getting that pressure and that consistency that you're talking about, which is something that we need. But
so now, in saying that, and we pretty much called everybody that puts on shoulder pads and a helmet. Now we're gonna move to the sidelines. Let's get to the teachers, to the coaches. We have Dennis Allen. We have Al Harris. Guys that they're very respected throughout the NFL. Al Harris is a guy that's former player. He's got respect of his peers in his era, and also some of the young guys that play in this era. He has a ton of respect. He's an excellent teacher. You know, but we're gonna move into Dennis Allen part of this. His philosophy, his scheme. Could his scheme, help catapult guys that fit to create that dominant culture that we're looking for?
I mean, I would think that if you're putting the guys in the right places and giving them the opportunity, I mean, in football, isn't that all you talk about, is like making the most of every opportunity?
Or
And
just
if
want a chance?
yeah, right, and if you're scheming the right way, for a defense to make a play against the offense, if you're putting these guys in the right spots to make the opportunities, then you might see an elevated level of play. I mean, it just depends, like, on him making the right calls at the right times to give these guys the opportunities. I mean, we do have some athletes out there that could be better, and maybe they are better under a Dennis Allen, and maybe they are better after Coach Harris is, you know, giving them some pointers. I mean, I guess from the viewpoint of, you can coach guys up. That's true, right? Like, that's
Mhm.
always true. Sometimes you can coach guys up. I mean, these guys are all athletes at a professional level. So, I mean, they're there for a reason. Somebody sees something, and it's just a matter of them seizing the opportunity, as long as they're in the right place at the right time, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
And that would come from your coordinator making the right calls at the right time. So
So it
definitely
is.
coaching is going to be a factor, and this defensive unit gets better, or if it's still stagnant like we've seen last year and the year before, where it's just okay and nothing special.
Yeah. True indeed. True indeed. We got a little company, man. We got a little company. Bring them on in here.
What's up, gentlemen?
Foster, what's good with you? How you
Uh,
doing?
Living the life, man. Just doing the things we got to do. Besides our love of our beloved, life gets in the way of the things you want to do sometimes, man. That's why I apologize for running late tonight. But
Hey, no problem. No problem. Glad to have you tonight.
so what's going on, D Nice and Eric? I caught a little bit of it at the end or the last 5 minutes, so I hope I don't mess you up with if I'm going
Nah,
back.
nah,
Just
nah, nah. Hey, we talking one thing tonight. We ain't jumping
right.
on multiple subjects. We're talking one thing tonight, and that's Bears defense. And the question that we have is, can the Bears defense consistently develop a consistent dominant unit under Dennis Allen?
That's a great question. It's something we've got to watch and see this season. I mean,
Hey, most definitely.
I believe just from looking at Dennis Allen's past and the stuff that he did in New Orleans, if you look at some of the stuff he did a couple of years ago, I don't know if you guys remember they were losing all their talent because they were in salary cap hell.
Yeah.
Defense looked really good at sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 years ago it looked pretty decent, and even last year at the beginning of the year it looked decent. But when you don't have the talent and you got to run a 17-game schedule, it's going to catch up with you. So, they started having some problems down there between injuries and stuff. But I believe, and I wholeheartedly believe this, and I have the faith that he's gonna take this defensive unit and pick it up a notch from the time. Like, remember when we got Sweat
Yeah.
and how that defense was playing the next 6-7 games, the way they were turning it up, and even at the beginning of last year until Billings went down.
Uh-huh.
That's the question is I believe Allen can do it, but do we have enough pieces, and are they in the right frame of mind, and have they made the jumps where they need to make them? Because we've got a lot of young guys still on the defense. We've got some veterans and some smart guys, but have they all taken enough steps to be where we have the part for him and able to make him an elite top 6-7 defense? Because that's what I'm looking forward to, something like that.
Yeah, and we spoke on it a little bit earlier before you dropped in, that on what you said, that top 10 number, most top 10 defenses, or especially the top five ones. Let's just talk on that first. The top five defenses have a dominant guy, at least one dominant guy on each level of the defense, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lot of unknowns, but based off of what we know now, I don't think we have that. Okay. Number two, it's about fit. Yeah, we acquired a lot of guys, and I'm sure Dennis Allen had his input and he got his fingerprints all over the guys that we acquired. But honestly, will these guys, number one, buy in to what's going on? And do they honestly fit what we're trying to do? That's another thing that matters when you talk about top 10, top five. These are the questions that we have. So I can't, like me and Eric we both said that we cannot wholeheartedly say that coming into 2025 that the Bears will have the dominant unit off the bat.
What we want, what we're used to. If you go back, I've been watching. I've seen like every Bears game, guys, since 1975. I'm just
okay.
My own
That's
family.
Awesome. That's amazing.
I know for a fact that we're Bears fans since 1931, and it's probably 1921. Ooh. So I'm just saying, I've got my father and his father, man. It's one of those things, and then my kid, and then there's 5 generations watching these guys. And we've always had or for the most part, we've had defense, man. It's like defense and a running back. You go back to the beginning of the NFL, that would describe the Bears, man.
Yep.
We all know about the quarterback thing. It's a whole other show or 3.
Yep. Yep.
But I look at the defense, and you brought it up, man. Do we have the right fitting parts for this defense? Do we have that core guy on each tier of the defense? So I'm going to start from the back because Jaylon Johnson, right? He's one of those guys that you want. He's your big man as far as defensive backs. And the talent around that is pretty darn good.
Pretty good.
So, that first draft I remember this because when Poles had the first draft, I was like looking at it the night after right after they did the first round, because we didn't have a first rounder. So I went through it, and I could show you this. There's guys, I've kept it. One of my buddies has got it. I went through the talent, and I'm like, I said, crap, we got to take Gordon and Brisker. Those are the guys that we're going to get stuck with. I literally still have this draft, and I'm not saying I know it all, because every other pick after that I got wrong.
Hey, that's fine. You know what you know.
I kind of feel like he got forced into building his team backwards. We're just talking about the defense because it always starts with the trenches, and he kind of was put in a position to take the best available talent that at the time was going to fit Flus's system. There's some input, I'm guessing. I don't know at all. I'm just looking at it with open eyes and trying to see every angle that I can see.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of had to build it from the back end, and then he went out and made the moves for the linebackers. I think Edwards was such an underrated pickup, and at the cost we got him, I mean, you got a couple really good linebackers on this team, and
True.
right. So I mean, we're looking at the middle now because we got Johnson back there, plus some talent and youth and inexperience, but you've got to take the good with the bad, and then we jump up to the linebackers, and we've got a bunch of young guys, and then we got two guys who have been around this game long enough to know what needs to be done on a week-by-week basis.
Yep.
And I'm going to go with Edwards as my big guy because he's just showing it game in and game out, even before he came here. And he's the more experienced veteran.
Yeah, and he has
He's a gamer, man.
he has championship pedigree.
Yes, there you
Like
go.
he came to us fresh off of a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
They weren't the victors, but he was there and he was impactful.
yeah. So, and look at Edmonds. If he takes the leap that I was expecting him to take last year, now I'm really smiling.
Yeah.
Because now we've got that middle straight now pretty darn good.
Right. I'm sorry, Foster, to interrupt you.
No,
but the fact that I want to speak on Edmonds for just a second. People don't realize that Edmonds is still an extremely young player.
Yeah.
He came into this league very young.
Yeah.
And he has football pedigree because his dad and his brothers, they all played. He got a lot of flack for last season, and rightfully so. But I honestly don't believe that the Eberflus scheme fit what he likes to do. And I think that was a key contributor to his struggles. Now, you got people that may disagree with me, but this is just me looking at it. Based off of where he came from in college to where he was drafted to and then coming to the Bears, the cover two thing just did not fit.
Yeah.
He's used to a more aggressive style. And I'll let you chime in on this after, Eric, if you want. He's used to a more aggressive style defense. And I think this is one thing that I'm really holding on to. And I think Dennis Allen's going to aid him more than anyone. It's going to bring his play back to respectability. I truly believe that.
I couldn't agree with it. I mean, I couldn't disagree with you. Sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
No, that goes back to what he was saying a few minutes ago. It's the scheme, right? Like the guy making the calls, right? Giving guys the opportunity, right? I mean, and then at the same time, like we up to that paycheck, right? I mean, playing at that level, and then maybe you're absolutely right. Maybe different coaching staff, different. I mean, we've seen it before a million times where like a Bears player moves on somewhere and now all of a sudden he's playing way better than he's ever played for us, right? But maybe we have the reverse effect here where we've got this new coaching staff and these players start to reach their potential, then that would be a great thing as a Bears fan to see happen, to see Edmonds and these guys take a leap forward, right? Like, why not? I mean, that's definitely plausible. I mean, if we're calling the right schemes on the right plays, and man, but I still got to go back to like that defensive front. Like, man, we still got to have interruptions for these guys behind them. They got to maybe be playing at a higher level on that front four for these guys behind them to make plays. I mean, everything literally starts in the trenches, like we talked about, like he just talked about a second ago, and that play is it's less than consistent, right? It's less than consistent. I mean, it's flashes of good at sometimes, and every once in a while we get some good stuff from those guys up front. But Montez not living up to his paycheck. Let's just call it what it is. And that's another thing you see in the league, right? Guys get paid, and then they take that step back. It's like, oh well, I got money now. I'm just gonna post through, like, that's horrible because it seems to always happen to us, right? We pay somebody and now they start taking it easy and they're not that guy that we thought, that we thought, hey, well, let's write this big check for them. And, they're going to be our next star, our next stud. And next thing you know, we're stuck with a dud who's, taking up all this cap space, which is right now, that's Montez, right? That's
Yeah,
definitely Montez.
from the looks of it.
Because
But
when,
okay,
like he said a second ago, when Montez first got here, man, he lit a fire under those guys out there,
he's a breath of
and then
fresh air.
last year that you didn't hear about him at all. You weren't calling his name too much, that there was no pressure from that edge.
For whatever reason.
So
Well, it's come out. He played a lot of most of that season injured with nagging injury, and then I gotta call it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the difference pre Billings and post Billings for the defense. Look at the numbers. Look at the points.
Speak on it.
But that's the problem. That's what I was going to get to, Eric, with the defensive line, because we just talked about. Now I know we've all said it, trenches. Because I did hear like the last 10 minutes as I was coming up to my room and to get on with you guys.
Gotcha.
The depth thing's been an issue on this team, both lines, and I'm not going to talk about the offense, but we know it. The depth thing's been a problem for too long, and coaching, like you talked about too, Eric. Man, the last two times we had coaches that with good, solid coaching staffs on every angle of the ball, special teams, defense, offense, we went to Super Bowls. Because there wasn't one after Ditka, and there wasn't one before Lovey, and there wasn't one after Lovey. I look at the staff all the time. I'm on BCP. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bears Country Podcast. Every Thursday night, we're doing it for like 3 years. But we've been talking about this. My buddy and PJ and I have been talking about having a solid, let's start with the defense, a solid defensive line and solid depth behind it. Because we haven't had it. We thought we had it. It looked like we had it.
Yeah.
I heard you mention, Denice, about, am I saying that right? Is that how you say your name, Denice?
D-Nice.
D-Nice.
Yeah.
No, be mean. I joke around a lot. I hope the bald spot isn't blinding people that are watching this.
That's why I wear a hat.
Right. Same. Right.
They ought to just call it three old bald guys tonight.
And look, since we were talking about defensive line, the trenches, right, where it all happens. Okay, what's the most important trait of a defensive lineman? Is it the sack number, or is it the disruptor? Which one would you rather have? Would you rather have the guy that's gonna bring you 12 to 17 sacks a year, or do you want a disruptor who you know that's going to consistently wreak havoc snap after snap? Because we've seen an example of guys like Trey Henderson, most noticeably, and Khalil Mack, who have these elevated sack numbers, but the defenses are not very good.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, Bengals defense is non-existent, right?
Right.
Like non-existent. Like, but here you go. You have this guy. He's leading the league in sacks, but his team is losing all these games because where's everybody else at?
And then you have the disruptor, the Aaron Donalds, the Tommy Harrises, the DeForest Buckners. You guys can jump in here anytime you feel the need to name guys, but we got guys that's coming in there and really wrecking stuff snap after snap and just causing total disruption and bringing commanding double teams from their said positions. So I battle with this person because the sack number looks wonderful when you look at it on paper, and when they're on TV and you see the guy, he has however many tackles, and then you have 12.5 sacks or 14 and a half sacks. that it jumps out there and it's very glaring. But for me, I think the most important guy, I'm gonna answer it first. For me, I would take the disruptor first. The guy that's consistently wreaking havoc. What you say, Foster?
Give me that disruptor that's got 24, 28 pressures and 3 sacks for the season, because you're gonna be able to have somebody with maybe a little less ability on the other three positions. They're gonna start getting sacks. I mean, you
Yeah.
mentioned the name you said when you said Sam Darnold. Look at when him and oh my God, who was the guy that was on the Bears?
Tommy Harris.
No, he was on the
Oh,
Bears. Went to the Rams, played with Darnold. I
oh,
think he's
Leonard Floyd.
look at what
Yeah,
Leonard
Leonard
Floyd
Floyd.
did with
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sam
he
Darnold.
could step up.
So I mean, as far as that question goes, and I'll take this all day long because I watched it as a kid. Dick Butkus. If he didn't have Obradovich and Bill George in front of him,
Mhm.
his numbers would not be the same, because they were just animals who never stopped, and they just messed everybody up in the backfield, and it made it so easy for Butkus to either get a sack or an interception. So I mean, without those two guys when he was playing, that defense wouldn't have been at what it was, where they're giving up 12, 13 points a game, 14 games a year. They lost a ton of games because they never had a quarterback or an offense, but that defense was consistent for quite a while. If you go and you look statistically, even the '85 teams, even some of the late '70s teams when Walter came on, those defenses were, you never even heard of some of these guys, and I'm like looking at stuff going, oh yeah, that's right. Um, Jim Osborne and I can't, Wally Chambers. I look and it's like 1976, 29 and a half sacks from the interior offensive lineman.
Yeah.
What?
And you got to
How is
look at
it
it. They were
possible? But
they were running the ball a ton back then.
yeah. But just never stop disrupting. A hand up in their face, maybe a leg, whatever it takes legally. Give me the disruptor all day, because it's gonna make everybody around that disruptor better. Tommy Harris, man.
Mhm.
Tommy Harris. Boy, I wish we had Tommy Harris right now playing 3-tech.
Hey, you mean to say, hey, you can't tell me that we didn't miss Tommy during the Super Bowl versus Peyton Manning.
Him and Brown, I
He
think
was
that's
he
why
was
we
greatly
lost.
missed.
You put those
Um,
guys on the field for that game, they don't score what they score in my
nah,
eyes.
not at all, not at all. And if you look at the history, I brought that question up because if you looked at the history of Dennis Allen's defenses, he rarely had two defensive ends
Yeah.
with double digit sacks. But he's always made it his business to have a disruptor up the middle. Now, if you look at the New Orleans teams, you had Cameron Jordan that's going to give you 15, but you also had, I want to say, was it Sheldon Rankins
Yeah.
or the name escapes me, but you had a three technique defensive tackle there that was disrupting, giving you anywhere from 6 to 8 sacks himself. And what you got from the opposite guy on the defensive end side, or the opposite side, that was just a fringe benefit of this defense being not totally overkills with the sack, but just having a disruptive unit. Like anybody that watched the Saints defense had to give credit, especially when they played at home. It was a very disruptive unit.
I'm gonna
But they
swing the
only
other
had
way.
one guy that was going to generate high sacks.
I would swing the other way. I want the sack guy.
You do?
I want the sack guy.
Okay.
I want the field position. I want the offense to be struggling. I do want that guy that's out there giving you consistently high sack numbers. Especially with the secondary that we have. I feel like that would bode well to how we play football, how our defense plays football. Give me the guy that's constantly in that backfield. And then I'm going to say this: if that sack guy
Mm-hmm.
is getting those high numbers, isn't he the disruptor? Like if I mean, if everybody else is playing behind him and
Mm-hmm.
he's dragging that quarterback down in the backfield for a loss of yards, when we're getting those chains pushed back, and the guys behind them doing see, that's the thing. Like you were just saying about that Cincinnati defense. They got that sack guy, but those guys around him aren't doing their job. So after he takes that quarterback down for that loss of yards, for that, for that big chunk of change, the secondary gives it right back up. Yeah, sure, that sack guy's not gonna, get a sack on every down,
Right.
every play, but man, give the defense a chance to be in a good position, which is always a good thing, right? It's always, when it's first and 10, and then it's 2nd and 20. How is that not great, right? Or
Right.
third and 18. How is that not a good thing, right? I want
Right.
that high sack number. I like seeing that guy. And when you have that guy, like you said, I think it does become like an opportunity for your other guys that's playing next to him to get those numbers up too, because offensive line starts to focus on that guy that's back there. They come in, they game plan for that guy. That guy with those high numbers. They come into that game and they got that offensive line coach worried. They got him thinking
Yeah.
about this one guy that they know is going to be a problem, and then that's going to build opportunity for those other guys to come up and make plays and to maybe get one in, to sneak in their own stack here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like, give me that guy that's consistent, that's consistently taking the quarterback down, that's consistently, man. And a lot of times when these quarterbacks go down in that backfield, that ball's coming out.
Yeah.
That ball's coming out, and I'll take that opportunity too to dive on that ball, right? I mean, because let's face it, these guys up front are huge, and some of these quarterbacks are they're not that big. They're prone to put that ball on the floor, which is always an opportunity for everybody, right?
True.
I like the sack guy. I want the sack guy on our team. I want that guy that Montez was, when he first came over here, like, and like when Khalil Mack first came here, you know what I mean? Like, they used to talk about Khalil Mack when he first came here. Like, this guy just destroys the game. The one guy that could single-handedly destroy the game, that's going to just constantly go after the quarterback. And like I said, everybody starts to worry about him, and then things shift and opportunities open for the other guys, that they don't worry about. They'll see an opportunity because of the double team happening over here. So, I feel like the sack guy is the disruptor, man. And if everybody's playing well behind him, then you'll have a solid defense, and that, again, from the front to the back, that's where it's got to start, right in the front. And then, as long as those guys behind them do their job, we're getting that offense off the field and our offense back on the field.
See, here I
True.
want to throw this out because I get everything you're saying. I'm a greedy old man. I want them both.
Yeah.
I would. That's how I would really answer this question. But I
as a Bears fan, you want it all, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You got it. Especially since I ain't got much time left, But remember when Montez was playing, and I can't remember his name because I thought it was a good sign when Poles signed him, and he ended up signing a decent contract with the Cardinals. That's one of the reasons he had those sacks. And if I could remember his name, you guys will know who I'm talking about because we brought him in to play 3-tech. And he played a hell of a season, man. And he's now with the Cardinals. He was here for the 1 year, and he went to the Cardinals. And their defense actually got better. Because here, your sack guy, he's going to get the sacks. But my disruptor guy is going to make tackles in the backfield. And I know Crosby and these guys do it. But if you're hitting me, if I get one of those DTs, the 1-tech, the 3-tech, nose tackle, whatever, if I get one of those guys that's extremely disrupted, I bet you if we had Tommy on the team today, you could throw Dom Rob on the other side and he'd get 6-8 sacks. And it's just my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right.
Listen.
I'm not saying I'm wrong.
Nah, we're not either.
Mean, this is my side. I really was like, this question I really can't answer because I want them both. But really, they're so intertwined unless you've got Max Crosby or the dude Myles Garrett. Unless you got one of those guys, they're kind of intertwined.
Yeah, and
so that's why I'm going disruptor, and the disruptor is just because, man, if you got one of those guys that like Ed O'Bradovich, didn't matter if they were running or passing, the dude was in the backfield within seconds almost every play that he played. And they were playing 12 and 14 games back then, so guys they were on the field a lot more than they are today. You know, everybody, there's a lot of substitutions going on, and it's good for the game, the substitutions, but these guys coming in got to be adequate, like the
True
guys that are
indeed.
starting, and that's the one thing that like guy PJ and I always talk about this depth. Show me real depth because it looks like we have it.
Yeah.
Is Pickens gonna take the leap that we all thought he was gonna take last year? Because I see flashes of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure because there's still a slow get off sometimes.
Again, those unknowns, man.
Yeah. What's Shamar going to do? And where do we look at Shamar? Because people are talking, well, it'd be fine if Shamar was okay and this and that. And I'm like, well, why can't you say that for Pickens? They were both second-round draft picks.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And,
I love who we brought in from Indianapolis and
Dambo.
yeah, you said it, and the other guy too. I think those are great moves because
Yeah.
those guys can be disruptors on every down, especially if they're fresh.
Yeah. And I see it from both of you guys' viewpoint, man, because like Eric said, the guy with those pretty sack numbers, they talking about him when they look at the schedule. You know, guys like Khalil Mack, Bosa, um, you
Agreed.
name it. The key guys that the Reggie Whites,
Watts.
things of that nature, JJ Watts, TJ Watts. You thinking about you might play them in week 6, but you thinking about that in week 1 or 2. You know what I mean? But to have
Especially as an offensive lineman, man.
yeah,
Right. Right. And
and
sometimes teams could get hyper focused on that guy. And that's when the opportunity shows up for those, those other guys in those trenches to, to sneak one or two in there too. Right. And
yes
let's
indeed. And and what really, the downside of that, I remember um Robert Quinn when he was here. And
guy was a stud
he
real
got
quick.
all those sacks.
He was a stud here for being the age he was when he came
Yeah.
here. A
He was a
lot of
guy
people said he was
he's been a
past his
stud throughout
prime.
his career. But his sack numbers here at the end of his career was amazing. He broke the sack record, and we were horrid defensively. Guys like Max Crosby. Max Crosby with the Raiders is getting these sack numbers up, wreaking havoc, and doing all of that. Their defense is terrible.
Right.
You know.
That's what I touched on a few minutes ago.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
those
yeah. No,
guys
I'm
behind
agreeing with
them playing to that level. These guys are just stuck in a bad
you. Yeah,
situation, and that's kind of like sucks for football fans, right? Like
yeah.
you got these guys stuck in teams that they're not making the adjustments, and is our team one of those teams that's not making the adjustments to elevate that defensive to the next level to be
Mhm.
a contender, a Super Bowl contender? Because let's face it, like, to be honest, just to get off topic real quick, the Chiefs,
Mhm.
they're not the Chiefs we were used to seeing. We're not, we're used to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they're not the same explosive offense. I mean, we can go on to a whole nother show about the refs helping them out, but that defense that they have out there, that Chris Jones and that defense
Yeah.
that they're playing at such a high level at every stage, like you said, man, their secondary's playing well. That front offense, that front line defense is disrupting offenses left and right. And this year, like, the reason they made it wasn't because of that offense. I mean, that offense was just good enough to not turn the ball over, and that defense was shutting down teams. And yes, the refs were going in their pocket for that flag
Eric,
at
real quick,
suspect times. But
real quick,
go ahead.
I call them the Shrefs, CHREFS.
Yeah, they got
Kansas
that.
City Shrefs.
Yeah,
Now,
right, Aaron.
as we
Man,
as
hit
we
with
They're in the
talk,
you hit it
huddle
with
in
the
there with
defense.
Patrick, right? They're in that huddle. Patrick, what are you going to call, Pat? All right, let's see if we can get it going.
or they might get that Zelle or that Cash App after the game. You never know. But since you guys touched on the Chiefs, and I'm gonna touch on the Eagles too,
Eric did it. I didn't.
because one thing that both of those groups, well, the Chiefs since they've been on their run, and similar to the Patriots when they were on their run, it wasn't so much that the defense was consistently dominant. They were situationally dominant. You know, the Chiefs and the Patriots during their reigns had the best situational defenses I've ever seen. Now we've seen defense that's consistently dominant week to week, but we've seen teams like the Chiefs and teams like the New England Patriots when it came down to certain situations, you wasn't gonna beat them.
Yeah, yeah.
You wasn't gonna beat them. And I think the Eagles when the Eagles got Fangio, they improved in that area too. And I think in a lot of ways too, the Eagles had strength in numbers. They had guys that can consistently disrupt. And if you can consistently disrupt across the defensive line, someone has to reap the benefits of these sacks, of getting the sack. Someone has to reap the benefit of the sack. But the Eagles the year before struggled defensively, especially situational. That's why Tampa Bay was able to run through them. But when the addition of Fangio coming in and making guys pay attention to the details of things, I think it catapulted them as a defensive unit. And that's how they were able to win the Super Bowl. Now, hopefully Dennis Allen can come in with his expertise and his teachings and his understanding of the game and help us situationally. We can start there and then work on the dominance as he has his tenure, goes on to
I mean,
get wins.
I'm right there with you because, like
Hmm.
he mentioned earlier, man, that Saints defense used to be tough. Like it was tough. Like it was on my fantasy football team tough in 2023. You know what I mean? And like you said, the details.
And no names, Eric.
Right,
No
right.
names. No names. One or two
And
names
if
on the
you
old
look at
defense.
it,
No,
those
you're
defenses,
good. That's exactly right.
yeah, and if you look at it, those defenses had to face some high-powered offenses. You know,
Yeah.
you had to face the MVP of Cam Newton. You had to face the MVP Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Now Tampa at that
Yes.
time was kind of on the down end, but still you had 4 games versus elite quarterbacks.
Yeah, tough divisions, right? And
Yeah,
that's where we sit, right? We
yeah.
sit in probably the most competitive division in the NFL. I would say, like man, we have 3 playoff teams, and we're not one of them in our division, and we want to be right.
Hmm.
So we definitely need to pray, get our little bag of hopes and dreams out again, and maybe Dennis Allen is that guy that like the coordinator that helps elevate this team. Like it helps elevate. We need to. We're looking at trying to go from what worst to first, right? So
Yeah.
and we did a coaching show where it talks about coaching is a big part of that, and we need that, right?
Yes, we
So
did.
like you guys both just said, like man, we need a guy that knows these details, that knows what he's looking at when he's looking at the field, and that he's making the right calls, and man, it doesn't help to have a guy that's a little bit psychic too, huh? That's reading that offensive coordinator's mind. They're kind of just keying into what he got going on. So let's hope this guy's up to the challenge, and we've seen him be up to the challenge with less talent. So
Yeah.
I'm optimistic, but like I said, I need to see it first. I guess I'm a show and prove kind of guy. I need to see it first because I haven't seen it out of this unit in the last couple of years.
Well,
We're not really, but we're from Missouri,
Show me
Eric. You
state,
got to
yeah,
show
show me. I had a
Denise.
teacher that used to say that to me all
You
the time.
you too, Denise, right? Got to show
yeah,
you too,
man. I
right?
mean, listen, we've all been
Yours.
traumatized, from
Yep.
last year and even the year before that. when the defense went on a kind of a run. But and I think this is like my the beginning of me podcasting at the time. I spoke on the fact that was our defense really dominant or were we just facing terrible groups? We faced a bunch of backups that the end of the year before last. We faced a bunch of backup QBs, and it really heightened um,
Yeah.
the perception of our defense. And I think that was fool's gold coming into the following year. Now, it's great to be able to hold on to something and hope that it translates into the following season. But that year in particular, we faced so many backup QBs, so much inexperience at the quarterback position, and teams that were in such a disarray on offensively that it actually made our defense, look rather well because we couldn't generate nothing offensively either. But the end, I
Yeah.
think the last 6 or 8 games of the season before last, not last year, but the season before last, the defense was rolling. We were getting pick
Yeah.
sixes, fumble recoveries, like a whole lot of good was happening. For us to come into the following season and
Yeah,
start off
Montez
with
is playing at that elite level, right? Like the level
yeah,
that we signed a check for.
yeah, and for us to start off with a spark, and it just slowly fizzled. We was all fizzled out by week 6.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I couldn't have been more disappointed with last year.
yeah,
We just did the typical Bears off season. Oh, we won the off season, but we were trash in the real season.
yeah, yeah,
And it was a good start to the season. Let's be honest, right? And then to just see everything nosedive after that Commanders game was just ridiculous.
Oh,
yeah, and players admit it, man, and I was glad someone said it, because it helped me ease the fact that I was thinking this thing the whole time. That after that, guys kind of checked out, man. And that's another thing that good coaching is not going to allow you to do. You know,
so
Go ahead. Go on, I'm with you.
I was just gonna say it. You were talking about that. That was when Sweat came over and made the trade. I wanted that trade. I asked for that trade. I think the end of the last year. It's on BCP tape somewhere, literally, because everybody's going Allen, Allen, Allen. I said, no, man, give me Montez Sweat. The guy's always healthy. He's an animal. He's going to play every down, every game when
hmm
he can. So literally wanted him over Allen. Um, but here's the guy that's missing from the equation the following season with that defense, Justin
Yeah.
Jones. He was an interior disruptor that nobody paid attention to. The minute he left and went to the Cardinals, their defense picked up. We looked good coming out of the
hmm
gate, and then when Billings got hurt, I don't, what the heck's going on? Where is Pickens? Why
Yeah.
isn't Gervon stepping up? How come Dom Rob's not
Yeah.
ready by now? I mean, just again, like we go like too many questions. At least we don't have. I don't think we have as many questions as we've had the last 3 years.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying with defense?
not the
We can
same.
we
It's
can
just a whole bunch of unknowns. Ant
yes.
Man brought Ant Mass brought up an interesting name that was also a disruptor, and through his career, he was kind of like a hired gun, if you will, to come in and generate pressure, and that's Yannick Ngakoue. He's
Yeah.
another guy that he blew his ACL, and they didn't want to sign him back. Understandable, but he was a guy that brought a disruptive presence. His sack number didn't show it, but the way these quarterbacks move around and are able to escape pressure a lot of times to get that ball out, and it may not be even a complete pass. It's just they could throw it into the sixth row of the stands. You know what I mean? Once they get out of the
Okay.
box. Yeah, so the ability of these new age quarterbacks, to get out to escape pressure, that kind of hurts the sack number as well. But you cannot take away the disruptive element that caused that quarterback to get off his spot and do something else with the ball
I feel
instead of
like
throwing
you
passes.
said you made a big point right there. It's like, man, this is the next gen football, right? Like
Yeah.
that elusive quarterback that makes plays with his legs. That like, all right, he's in trouble, but he scrambles out and outside the pocket on the run, he's making difficult throws down the field, and that is the new era of football. We don't really see pocket passers too much like anymore. You know, I mean, outside of God, I don't know.
Goff.
Right. There's not too many, but I mean,
Yeah.
Ooh,
uh, the Bengals quarterback, it's like one of the last true
Oh,
ones. I mean, he's not really going nowhere, but he's going to kill you with his arm. You know what I mean? And God, he's like my favorite quarterback. I can't believe his name's escaping me right
Joe
now.
Burrow.
Yeah, Joey Ice, right? Like, man,
Burrow.
Joe
Joe
Burrow.
Burrow. He,
Like,
even him, he got a
yeah, he can
sidestep.
move.
He
He
got a
can
little
move. But
movement in there.
I mean, we were
Not
looking at
believable.
guys like.
You take a guy like,
No,
sorry,
you're
Goff
good.
and
I mean, I'm
Cousins
glad you brought the name back to
are
me. But when you're looking at these other guys, like man, everybody has a mobile quarterback now that's in an elite team, like Jackson for Baltimore. I mean, all these guys are using their legs. Even
Yeah.
us. Like, but you know what was good because
doing well.
I don't want to like touch on the offense, but you know what was good because I mean I was at a couple games last year and I'm looking at our quarterback like Caleb, and like he's in the red zone, and I'm seeing him actually get some time for once, and he doesn't use his legs, and he wants to stand in there and throw the ball,
Mhm.
and I liked it. I'm not gonna lie, because that's what you want. You want a quarterback that's pass first, because you know what we all know the gambles of these guys when they do take off. You're running into these 400-pound guys, just all muscle, and then there's that injury risk there. But the league is now a scrambling. It's a scrambling guys game. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, Redskins quarterback, eight
Daniel.
people. Daniels was a monster, fantasy winner for me. Be
Yeah.
honest, because I gambled on him early. Fantasy winner for me.
I
Yeah.
have
And
two.
dude,
Me too.
this guy just came in the league and took it by storm, man. And like he could make the plays with his arm, and he was making. And this is the new era of football.
Yeah.
These guys that do it all, that do whatever it takes to get that ball moving down the field, and that's got to be hell for coaches like Allen. You know what I mean? To be
Yeah.
thinking about like you could scheme so much, but can you scheme to the point where you got this guy making plays outside the pocket that's doing this dancing back there, running around, using his legs and then using his arm once he gets outside the pocket too. So, and then throwing the ball away too, like you said. Hey, I mean, to be honest, I tell him, well, my son plays quarterback, and I tell him all the time, like, man, throw the ball away before you take that loss,
Yeah.
which is the smartest thing you could do, right? The
Yeah.
smartest thing you could do.
Yeah. And it's to the point now that even guys that are not as fleet of foot as most of the guys in the league, the offensive coordinators are smart ones anyway.
Yeah.
They're scheming ways to get these guys rolled out of the pocket away from that, them that weak side pressure. You know what I mean? Wherever that pressure's coming from, they're designing these plays to get these guys rolled out of there. You know, so they can at least buy themselves time to make a play with their arm, throw that thing, out into Lake Michigan, or make a play with their feet. Because when you rolled out and you gain a little momentum and you see a little crease, you can get at least 3 or 4 yards and slide or just run out of bounds. That's one thing that Jaden Daniels did so well. When his first read wasn't there, he was on his way to getting
He'll
some
grab 20
positive
yards on you
yards.
real quick.
Yeah, and
20 yards on you
either
real quick,
sliding or
right?
going out of bounds. All
And
right,
I like
what's the
that
court?
about Jake. I like that about him too, though. He
Yeah.
never really put himself in danger.
Well,
He never.
I think more than anything that the offensive coordinator put him in advantageous situations for him to be able to utilize his skills. And I think, they just really took advantage of what the defense showed them. And we can give credit to both of those guys in both ways, but we didn't have it here.
I mean, let's take that whole scenario into perspective for us, because that's exactly what we're looking to do. Because who were the Commanders before him? We didn't really care. Nobody, they weren't a playoff team or somebody even worried about. That was an easy win on your schedule, right? And
Yeah,
now after last year, everyone's looking at that game like, okay, how do we win this one, right? Like,
mhm.
and I got to be honest, I thought we had them. It
Oh, we
was in the
did,
bag, right?
we did, we
I had
did,
it as
we
a
did.
W from the start of the season, dude. I marked it
It
as a W. It's a win.
it was a
But
slow
now, and
start.
now they're
Because
contenders,
look at
though.
how Washington got rid of their defensive line. They kept one guy out of that massive line that they had. So I'm like, we got to be able to beat them with
It was
Caleb and the offensive weapons that we had. I was like, we got to be able to beat them. Our
Yeah,
defense will take care of their rookie quarterback, no problem. They don't have the defense they had. We ought to win. We all saw what happened.
it was a slow start, man. We had them dead to rights.
No,
Uh,
that was definitely a trajectory point for Daniels, I would say, in his career, where he definitely took that next step. And after that, he torched the rest of the league, and then that was awesome for me and my fantasy team. To be
yeah,
honest,
When you get that confidence in you and nothing, you ever been, because I don't know, I played for like 3-4 seasons, but 3.5. So ain't nothing gonna stop me now. I used to say, man, I was a halfback and a free safety. And,
mm,
and when we'd get rolling, when our defense would get rolling, almost nobody could score on us for one season, but almost nobody could score on us because we were just like a unit, man. There's
man,
nothing
I
like
try to
I
coach.
can't
I
even
try to
describe
coach that at every level, right? Because confidence is everything in everything. I mean, like, man, if you're comfortable and you're sure of yourself and you're confident in what you're doing, you do become, like you said, like how you felt, unstoppable.
yeah,
And man, and that's what elite players have, is that faith in themselves that they can get the job done. And you know what? Let's hope that our defense has a few of those guys in there with that same mindset, that, like, that Jaylon mindset. Because I mean, confidence is key to success. Period. And
true.
and, and I like to coach it up. Like, man, believe in you and go out there and do you and be the best you that you could be. Right.
Yeah. And another thing, man, confidence, like you guys said, confidence is a major key. But another major key is perseverance. Because
it.
I don't care how great you are at any level at any sport, things are not gonna always go your way. You have to be hard enough to withstand the storm when it comes.
The
You
bounce
know,
back. Right. The bounce
yeah,
back.
you have it's imperative that you're able to withstand this flurry that's coming. The great boxers do it all the time. They're not always coming in there and physically dominating their opponent. They get
I
hit
feel
too.
like I feel like that game we just talked about stole all the confidence that we had last year.
Absolutely.
And these guys checked
Absolutely.
out, like you guys said. After that, they robbed the confidence that we had, because we were winning. We had a winning season going at that point, and the confidence just fell apart. And like you said, that perseverance did not persevere, right? So
Didn't kick in, man. It didn't kick in. And it was so prevalent that I think a bunch of our fans felt it, and I think a bunch of the national pundits um felt it, but for the players to come out and say that, like, I listen, I'm with the honesty 100%, but certain things you just gotta keep to yourself, man. We all seen it, but it's not. for the guys to come out there and lay that out there on the line, man, that was very disheartening to me
And
because,
unprofessional, right? Unprofessional.
well, not so much I just expected more from these
As a
particular guys.
as a
You
team,
know,
you got to keep that kind of stuff under your lid. You don't call it
man,
out. You
man,
don't call it out.
it's on tape. Let people perceive what they want. Don't shoot that load on TV, man, on radio. Don't do that. That was very disheartening for me because we
Yeah, yeah.
seen it and we felt it, but for it to come out like that from veteran guys, from guys that's been to Pro Bowls, from guys that's been through tough times, for it to come out like that from those guys was very discouraging. Yeah, it was very disheartening, man.
Man, you can't bleed in the Shark Tank, right? You can't bleed
Can
in the Shark Tank.
can you can because
There is a time and a
one,
place for everything, man, and
yeah,
that's something. Come here, guys. We really need to talk about this. It's not.
yeah,
Let's tell the
and
world.
Yeah, no. Yeah, some things got to stay in house.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
There's a
Guys were a
line.
little bit too
There's a
chatty,
line, man,
man.
and everybody knows what it is. What you know what it is in your lives, and as teammates. And I'm going back to when I played. There was stuff that stayed in the freaking locker room, man. You walked out that door. We'll talk about it tomorrow, or whatever. You know what I
Certain
mean?
things you got to leave to speculation, man. You got to leave people to speculate. You cannot lay that out there like that. You can't, But last season's over, and we're another day closer to training camp, which will bring us another, you know what I'm saying, uh,
opportunity.
couple
We'll call it
couple
opportunity.
couple weeks closer to the exhibition season and the regular season, which, like you said, Eric, will breed more different opportunities. Let's hope, and greater opportunities for some of these guys that's gonna make this team, and for the guys that's not gonna make it, hopefully they'll find their land on their feet somewhere else. But hey, guys, listen, it's been a great talk with you guys tonight. I appreciate everyone coming in here, in the chat and wherever you guys are watching from. I speak for all of us at Chicago Sports Podcast and say we appreciate you giving us your time. And for the new people that's in here, please like and subscribe. We bring in Bears content on a daily basis, and we want to hear from you guys, and we appreciate you guys giving us your ear. With that being said, any guys got any closing thoughts?
I just want to thank you
No,
guys.
yeah.
Sorry, Eric, because I'm just going to say it
No,
quick.
you're good, man. I mean, I didn't have no close out. The only thing I was gonna say was like, man, I can't wait for us to actually be able to talk about some stuff that we're seeing on field. I can't wait for the preseason to start and for training camp to start, so we can start talking about stuff that's actually happening and not speculate. That's gonna be the funnest part of this, man. Speculation is cool, right? But I
Yes,
can't
indeed.
wait to see, right, and be able to, like we had those OTAs. We got to talk about stuff that we saw, and I'm
Yeah,
I'm excited for that part of it, right?
yeah.
But I'll let you go. Go ahead, man.
No. Man, I'm so old. I'm forget. I got some timers. Sometimes I remember what I was going to say, and sometimes I don't.
There you go.
No, I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in, and I wanted to thank Trax and you guys for inviting me to discuss defense. Because on my show, my buddy PJ and I, man, we're still worried about the offensive line right now after everything that we did. We're like,
Yeah.
what the hell's going to happen on Halloween when Jones goes down or somebody gets hurt? We're just like, what's next? But I want to thank you guys for having me, and then maybe we do this again sometime, and we can get back to something else. Or, like you said, I keep going, man. Is it August yet? Because I want to see on. I don't care if it's preseason. I want to see these guys on the field.
Yeah.
So
Got
thanks again. Everybody, stay safe out there and go Bears.
Yes, indeed. Hey, Foster, you're welcome anytime, brother.
Nice.
Just give us a shout, man. Enjoy having you. Eric, is always great working with you, man. I know, what I'm saying. This is what, week 2 or 3?
For me,
Yeah.
yeah, three maybe. Yeah, three.
Hey,
This is
listen.
our third one, right? Let's get it in.
Hey, let's stack these. Listen, we got to do it like the Bears. We got to stack these days, stack these weeks together, man. You know what I mean? And we gonna do it.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll put together a whole season, huh? Hopefully, a successful, productive season.
Keep it
hey,
up, Eric,
listen.
and you'll get to week 300 before you know it, like myself and a bunch of other guys, man. It
Yeah,
just happens too
yeah,
fast.
yeah. It goes quick, you know. But our job is to keep each other engaged, keep the fans engaged, and continue to bring out good content, man. And anytime we can speak, our minds and share our feelings with one another, not just us three, but as Bears fans talking to Bears fans, it's always great, man.
Absolutely.
So salute to you guys, and salute to the people that watch us on a nightly basis. I know me myself, I'll be back tomorrow. Me and my guy Bishop will be back tomorrow. Um, so please tune in. Please hit the notification bell. Hit the thumbs up. Leave all your comments in the chat. We welcome them with open arms. You can banter, you know what I'm saying? We support the banter, but please be respectful. That's all we ask, because we all just fans at the end of the day. None of us are suiting up and going out there to knock heads on week after week. But we all here to share our opinions on Chicago Bears and NFL football. So with that, I want to say good night to everybody. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the night. Peace up, bear down, and we out.
Good night.
Good night.